at
Recording in progress.
10:06. And let's see, we have first on our agenda an executive session. So I will, for the purpose of which is number 2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for contract negotiations with non-union administrative personnel, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the committee. And purpose 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the Winchester Education Association regarding co-curricular stipends, as an open meeting may also have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the committee. So with that, I would take a motion for us to move into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
And a second. And we need to do a roll call vote. So Mr. Hopcroft,
Aye.
Mr. Nixon,
Aye.
Dr. Matthews,
Aye.
the chair votes aye, and we will move into executive session. And just as a note for any members of the public who may be here or who are on WinCam, the executive session is targeted to end around 10:35, and public comment is targeted to start around then. But the executive session may go longer, so please be patient until we come back. We will be there, here. Okay, so we'll see you on the other side in the executive session.
Made it.
Here we are.
Okay, we're in public session, just a reminder.
Okay, it looks, I think we are all back. There are so many. Pardon me, I'm just trying to get my screens organized again.
Doing the same
Yep,
thing.
That's not what I wanted to do. I'm not leaving the webinar. Okay. All right. So good morning, everybody. We are finally back from our executive session at 11:06 a.m. And I will just finish reading the rest of the schedule for today. We will start shortly with public comment, and then we will move into superintendent and chair remarks. And consent agenda, which includes approval of minutes from May 14th, the 28th, June 11th, and 20th. Consideration of approval of the Winchester Foundation for Educational Excellence grant of $1,800 for Winchester High School World Language teachers. Consideration of approval of subcommittee assignments. Consideration of the 2024-25 DESI required breakfast and lunch fee increase. Consideration of approval of the Student Opportunity Act DESI, the Student Opportunity Act plan. Then we'll move into report, update, and action items, including a presentation of the superintendent's summative evaluation and the superintendent's central office reorganization plan. And then we will move into anticipated future agenda items, future meeting dates, and adjournment. Just a couple of quick notes. Our member, Michelle Bergstrom, is under the weather health-wise. So she will be out for most of the meeting, but she will try to join us later on in the meeting. So with that, I would just move on to public comment. And let's see.
Two members of the public are present.
Yes, I was trying to find my participant screen. So I'll just read. The public comment shall be for a period of 20 minutes, and it's not a discussion, debate, or dialogue between individuals in the committee. It's citizens' opportunity to express their opinion on issues on the agenda or of school committee business. So any individual who's wishing to speak before the committee shall identify themselves by name and address, and shall speak for no longer than 3 minutes. And all of individuals shall speak to the full committee through the chair and shall not address individual members or administrators. We also ask that anybody who's coming for public comment, please turn on their cameras for our virtual public comment. So with that said, is anybody from our audience here for public comment? If you are, then please raise your digital hand. We are just now at the public comment portion of our meeting, and so I was just asking if anybody is here for public comment. And if so, please raise your digital hand. And if not, then I believe I am not seeing anybody with a digital hand raised. Mr. Hopcroft, would you concur?
Yeah, I did not see any digital hands either.
Okay, then I will close public comment and we will move along. Let's see. Okay, so first up are superintendent and chair remarks. So Dr. Hackett, would you like to start us off?
You're on mute.
And as I was saying, good morning, everybody. Good to see you all this early meeting in August here. And now it's really good that you can also hear me. So a little rusty here on, on the Zoom skills. I'm disappointed with myself. So I'd like to start just really by providing an update on the early literacy work. As a continuation of this discussion and just to provide you with some information as in terms of what has happened and progress that we've made here over the last few weeks. As you know very well, we are, we don't have our staff in session now. So a lot of the conversations have really been with just kind of key administrators, central office administrators, Lori and Jen, some additional conversations with a few others, but also I have been we've been in discussions with the collaborative for educational services as well. So with that, I just want to share with you what we're seeing is really the next steps here in coordination with the collaborative. So just really to start by saying that one of the bigger goals for us has been to limit the number of transitions we need to make moving forward with the work, meaning that we've really not come out. We've come out and talked about finding a consultant, outside consultant to help us move forward with the literacy curriculum work and program work. We talked about some of the elements of that and what that might look like. What we have not said, and we're saying for the first time today, is that we're going to continue our partnership with the collaborative. We've had a good working relationship with them. As you know, they did a ton of work with us around the initial literacy assessment and study, producing the report. They are known within the community. They're known with our teachers. They're known with our administrators. But also to say that they are, and I guess I didn't really understand and appreciate this as much in the very beginning of this, but they are much bigger than I thought. They have a really big network of people, whether they are people that work with them and for them directly, or whether they are contacts and consultants that they've used in other work that they partner with. They have done work with Facebook. So they've been in the private sector, they've been in the public sector, they've worked for school systems, colleges and universities, private sector work. So they really are, they do have a lot of capacity. They do have they are a great resource and are able to really gear up and do this with us, which was one of the concerns I had, was really finding somebody as a consultant to come in and do and help us, also to be able to find someone with that time. But I was also concerned in the same way that we hire legal counsel from a law firm so we can benefit from the fact that there are other attorneys in the law firm. So if there's with our labor counsel, if there's a question around municipal finance, there's a lawyer in his firm that actually does work in municipal finance, which is very helpful for us. It's also very helpful to work with a group like this that can draw on other members that have expertise in different areas or have networks and connections with experts that they can bring into the work. So, and also just the capacity, and candidly, the collaborative, it's a little bit of a heavy lift for them to do this, but they do have the people in place to help us out. So the announcement today, or I guess the biggest part of the update, is we are going to continue our partnership with the collaborative. We are really trying to, again, limit the transitions, so that I think will be helpful. As part of limiting the transitions, we are going to, as I talked about before in the last meeting we had with the update, we're forming a WPS literacy team, and we're going to start that team with the educator members of the design team who wish to continue the work. They may not all want to continue on this journey with us, but that will help us also to have people who have been through it already. They know the collaborative, they know the players, they know the people, they understand where we've been and what we're trying to do. So it would just does also helps to kind of cut down on the having to kind of backtrack and bring everybody up to speed as we move forward to hopefully allow us to accelerate this a little bit more than we might otherwise be able to do. We will be, and I said this last time as well, and I'm going to keep saying I said this last time as well, just to point out that some of this information has been already provided. I'm not forgetting that. I'm not trying to take old information and make it sound new. But we have we're also going to open it up with the collaborative's help in terms of a process to allow for other elementary educators to join who might not want to have been on the design team, but really might be interested in doing this work with us. And in that discussion, as we move forward and thinking about how to set this up, we really do have to talk about, when does this happen in terms of during the school day? Do we provide release time versus after the school day, off hours, when we, aren't going to be able to, it's not a release time issue, but it either way can limit the pool of people who might be able to feel like they can participate, from people who just really feel like, this particular year, they really can't be out of their classroom at all, to people who have responsibilities that they really cannot make arrangements for after school. Our goal is to provide as many people as the access as possible, understanding that at some point, we've got to make some decisions in terms of the actual design. I mean, the actual literacy team around a number that's not overwhelming, so that the work can happen. Also with the idea that that group is going to be in regular communication, representative of their schools, and be going back to their schools and grade level teams and facilitating information exchange, as well as gathering feedback to bring back to the literacy team. So we are still on track for preliminary onboarding of the collaborative for mid-August. Our next step will be to have a meeting with them and meet the actual consultants who the collaborative will be recommending to us. That would be really kind of serving as the core team. And let me just jump to that. So what their collaborative is going to be providing us, the core team of facilitators. It won't be just one facilitator. What we've asked for in conversations here in the central office is we really want facilitators who have educational experience in public schools. Ideally, we want former elementary teachers. It would be great to have people who are also served in some form of school leadership, whether it be a school principal or a district leadership role. We're looking for people who have a broad range of experiences, from early childhood to special education, ELL, and obviously literacy, to help facilitate the work. So the collaborative, in several meetings with them, and as of the last meeting with them, I'm quite confident that they are going to be able to deliver on that core team, and I'm quite excited about the possibility of who might be helping us do this work. So then on top of that, they're going to be providing advisors. They won't be at the table all the time with the literacy team, but they will be in the background providing the core team with some support if there's a feeling like there needs to be an advisor for a particular reason that needs to come to a meeting to be there to help. They will do that, and they'll have that flexibility to bring people in and out like that. So the process support that they're going to be providing really breaks down into 4 broad areas: facilitation of dialogue, learning and decision making, support for inclusion of educator voice, support for communication with families, and support for evaluation and organizational leadership. And I think that the discussion we've had publicly before, we talked about this quite a bit. We are actually going to be kind of hitting on the same topic in a little while, is that we really need help with capacity. We just do not have a full complement of central office leadership positions here to really engage in this work in a way that we can sustain, provide the appropriate support for, supervision of, oversight of, and this is a really important for us to be able to engage with the collaborative, to have them have the capacity to provide us the supports we need in those areas. So, not that it goes without saying, because it does not, but this is the capacity of the collaborative in this is critical for us to be able to move forward. I'm not going to read through, obviously, the descriptors of all of what that is underneath these titles, but you can see them. We will be, as we have, we'll be updating our literacy website webpage with this information, and we'll provide a link to this meeting as well to have the ability if people would like to see the discussion around this to hop on. The kind of the key priorities of the team and the really key work of the collaborative will be to really facilitate the meetings of the team from starting in September, running through June of next year. We know that the first couple of weeks of school, our people are focused on getting back to school, getting in front of their kids, getting schools organized, getting the routines going. So, and also for the collaborative in terms of their time frame and their commitments to other work, we're thinking kind of mid-September for some organizational meetings with the literacy team, probably mid to late, because the starting point would be to make sure that we go out and broaden that membership and offer enough opportunity for people who want to express interest and want to be involved as the elementary educators who have not currently have been involved to be on that team. So it'll be kind of a process. We'll get back to school. Kind of the second week, we'll try to put something out then, or going into the third week of just kind of posting for membership, people who are interested, who can submit their interest. We'll be able to provide some information to people at that point about kind of the structure and what the timeframes look like. And then we'll kind of vet through that, or the CES will help us vet through that, and we'll get a broad-based representation of people for the actual core literacy team. They're also going to provide ongoing communications with the superintendent's central office, with the community, which has been key. It was key in the last sessions to be able to have them help us with the communications, given, again, kind of limited capacity for us to be able to kind of keep that going. They're going to, in the end, provide us with a program implementation plan. And also, I think is importantly, an evaluation framework to support ongoing monitoring and improvement, not just for literacy, but one of the things that we've talked about, and I think we're trying to really develop a framework for, is how to do this work in any, really, with any topic or content area. We've talked a lot about kind of the changing dynamic in public education and the stakeholders and expectations around stakeholder involvement. And we're certainly feeling that, and we're trying to be responsive to that as a leadership team. But of course, we want to do that within some kind of framework that makes sense and that's effective and efficient too. Because we do have work to do, and sometimes you can go into committee work or a process that just lasts so long that sometimes you forget what you're there for. So we're really looking to see if there's a model framework that we can pull out of this process that we can use for future work. And then they're going to also provide additional support, as I already talked about, with just facilitation capacity. We're asking them to help us with some distributed leadership, teacher leadership structures, and also some professional development around that. Identifying the first medium and long-term actions that need to be taken, kind of what are the most important first things that really we need to do as a district? What can we do? What can we bring capacity to early on to support the learners that are in front of us, so that we can do that at the same time while planning for the future. Bringing some clarity to our district procedures, to our information, to our communication protocols and tools, so that we can also help tell our story and communicate. That's been part of our struggle, candidly, is that we have a lot of good work, we have a lot of good things, and from my perspective, at times it has felt like we almost have too much. And how do you communicate that publicly and internally also? Kind of starting with the bigger picture and kind of, allowing people to funnel down into the detail level that they might want to go to. But the importance of the visuals, the importance of being able to have a place where that can reside, but it's also doesn't just sit there and everyone forgets about it. So we're hopeful that we can bring some structures around our overall communication protocols, and then collaboration structures, which kind of goes without saying. So that's the update. I'm happy to take any questions from the committee if anyone has any. Through the chair, of course.
Oh, sure. No, Dr. Hackett, I was also just going to say, oh, actually, just please go ahead if there are any questions.
I just comment that, I do continue to appreciate, you're putting the teachers at the center of this process. They're certainly trusted by everyone and they're in front of our kids and have the expertise. And I recognize the challenge that you have because I think there's a desire for, knowing the end result right at the front and yet, following a process where you have to actually engage the people who are going to do the work when they're here and start the process. So, well, I'd love to, start with the end result right now and know that, recognize that you have a very deliberative process here that puts the right people in the driver's seat to determine that. And, to the extent that you have any vision over the horizon of, where things are going or when people might expect certain, I think you've talked about, you know, change in short term versus medium term versus long term. But when you get to the point that you can start to see what the short term changes are, because I think some people may look at that time frame and say, "Oh, gee, the end of the year is when we're going to start seeing things." So just along the way, if you can, and I know you have these updates scheduled for every meeting, so the when the short term deliverables start becoming clearer, and I know they may not be yet, to share those with the community would be great. But I
Thank
like
you.
the process and the centering of the teachers.
Thanks. And I would just also want to add one, thank you for that. And, as I was putting today's presentation together, there were some things that I presented last time because we had talked about internally about, making the commitment to UFly, that that's something we know we can do right now. It's pretty universally adopted based on the information we have from the assessment. We don't think that's a big lift. We don't think that that's infringing upon, teachers' decision-making ability around this. We just, and all reports are that the program is good, that people generally like it. So that is one short-term decision that we've made, which is a big one if you really think about it, because it is programmatic already. I also just want to add that, when I talk about the design team members, and as you know, we have teachers on there, we also have leadership on there too. So, the kind of the leadership representation and Mike and Jen, central office, and your connection to the literacy team will be kind of represented really by Lori in her role as assistant superintendent, as well as the two principals who were part of the design team, Andrea Phelan at Ambrose and Kathy Karen at VO. So the three of them really will be the liaison and the conduit to district leadership. And I say district leadership loosely because there's only two of us left, except Andrew. I'm not sure he wants to be involved in this, but also to the committee. So because we certainly want to build capacity around this, and ideally we would be able to be in a position where the collaborative would be able to kind of hand off this work to us, and be kind of then maybe kind of move more behind the scenes. But we have the work to do first and get everybody comfortable with the process and set it up and make sure that we're providing, the open space for the discussions. So just to add that.
Yeah, and I should also mention that I heard that piece too about capacity, and you have an extraordinarily thin team in central office, and certainly putting the importance of this work to put that on top of all the work they're already doing would I think provide short shrift to this work. So continuing with the outside team to have the capacity, but having a long-term plan of an eye towards building this capacity, so we have this muscle internally, not just around elementary literacy, but around other areas. I think is really a good vision longer term. So I support that too.
And I was just going to point out, and now might be a better time for those members of the community who are interested in hearing the report from the collaborative. There is one more public session remaining. I believe it is August 22nd, Dr. Hackett,
Yes.
4 p.m. And it's a chance just to hear the report from the collaborative, ask questions of the collaborative and of Dr. Hackett. It will
And I
be the
think
third
also-
of the 3 sessions this summer.
Correct. And I think as we've gone through these sessions, we saw, really, not unexpectedly, strong attendance on the first one. And then a little smaller attendance on the next one, and then attendance, kind of in that way. But we saw new people. So we want to be adaptive with this next session too. So it may not be the collaborative presenting the report again. I think really what now we're ready to move into, let's give a little bit of a preview, really presenting this information as much as anything, to show, where we are, how we're thinking about it. We'll have a few additional, maybe potentially updates, but kind of focus forward on what people can expect to come.
Great. Any other comments, questions? Okay, anything else from your end, Dr. Hackett?
I'm good on that.
Okay. Let's see. Yes, I was just about to ask if Andrew could pull that up. So you have in your binders and on our virtual screen a list of the important dates for the fall. Everything is in one place, so that's very nice. And I would just like to draw your attention to fall town meeting dates, as that is rapidly approaching, even though it's in November. So September 23rd, the fall town meeting warrant is going to be closing. And then the select board will be voting on the warrant during the week of October 7th. And on October 11th, that Friday, the motions and the background language will be due to the town manager's office. And I'd say, and importantly to us, the opening date of town meeting will be November 7th, followed by November 14th, the next Thursday, and then Monday, November 18th, and Thursday, November 21st. So if you could mark your calendars, that would be great. So there was that. And then with regard to the Mystic HVAC system and a joint meeting with the select board, I'll just mention it here. I had spoken with Ms. Pryor, the chair of the select board, and we had agreed that it would be most useful to have the engineering report in hand. So that's expected 60 days after they had first notified the engineer that they would like to move ahead with for their design development. And that took place around the beginning of July. So we're expecting that report back roughly around the beginning of September. So select boards meetings in September are currently scheduled for September 9th and the 23rd. Those are both Mondays. And they are asking if we would like to join them. I think they had said around 6:30. 6:30 or 7 with the goal to get out of there by 7:30. So just wanted to put that out there so that you have those in your heads. And that's all I have. Except for happy summer. Here we
Can I
are.
ask a question of Dr.
Yes,
Hackett or
please
Mr.
do.
Marin? So we are in the process of reviewing bids on the high school gymnasium reflooring and reconfiguration, and just going through a due diligence process with contractors. We don't have anybody on board yet, but that state primary is coming up. I believe don't we have an election on September 3rd? What I'm heading towards is, are we having conversations with the clerk's office about coming up with a plan to support elections outside the gym if we have to? I think we're not yet 100% clear on mobilization date, but we might not have that gym available.
So
I can update
town-
Mr. Nixon. Oh,
Go
sorry,
ahead, Andrew.
Sean. Yep. So Mr. Nixon, we have met with the town clerk and some of her staff along with facilities, and we're ready to go. So we have a plan for that date and deployment of the equipment and the kind of subsequent clean up after it too.
Okay. Thank you.
And just to say it out loud, so as you know, that is the first day of our coming back to school with teachers. We've arranged the schedule so that we're actually going to do our professional development day at McCall to accommodate for that, which is a bit of an accommodation, given that if it's really hot out, McCall does not have centralized air conditioning. So it is a little challenging. Then we'll be coming back on the second day for a general assembly with all staff. And then they'll move into their building-based meetings on the Wednesday.
And my understanding is that I believe it's state law, or, well, it's either statute or it's regulation, that the clerk has to actually advertise to the town where the election is, like specifically. And I think there's a 30-day deadline. So I just want to say, if we jump through these hoops to facilitate the election in first floor spaces, and on the day of the election, we're not yet mobilized in the gym, that may be a little bit out of our control there. That's just a process that engineering and planning has to go through with contractors. So, apologies to teachers and staff in advance if we do all this and yet the gym turns out to be available that day. But the clerk has a deadline that she has to meet. So we just need to sort of understand that. Fingers crossed on the high school gym, but we'll have more to report on that when we meet on the 22nd.
Mr. Nixon, do we know whether or not the location notification has to be specific to a room in the high school, or do you know? And I'm asking. So
I've asked that question, and my understanding is that it's no, but with a big fat asterisk, that what is required is not just the address, but specific building access points. And so if we were to, hold the election on the first floor, that might drive direction in terms of access points that would be a little different than if it was upstairs in the gym. So the two are sort of related. Again, I'm not the expert. I think that was my understanding. But you could certainly have that conversation with the clerk. I know her preference would be to do it in the gym if she could, but again, that space may not be available on the date of that election, but it's going to be a little while longer before we know that yet. Because we don't have anybody yet under contract, but we might by then.
Okay, any further comment? Otherwise, I would say let's go on to the consent agenda, which I had read out previously. I probably should have read it right now.
Sorry,
Um,
Madam Chair, I
yes.
just wanted to, in terms of the meeting with select board, I'm assuming you'll follow up
Yes.
with us with those dates and we can try to
Yes,
coordinate something. Okay, I just,
yes,
given scheduling, it's, I just wanted to make that quick point, so thank you.
yes. No, I just wanted to give everybody a heads up that we're looking at September 9th or September 23rd. Personally,
Yeah.
I think the latter would be more
Could-
likely.
Could I also suggest, just because I know scheduling could be tricky with two boards, that maybe as we get closer, that we put out a doodle to both boards with the two select board dates and the two school committee meeting dates, because it may be that having 4 options may be better than 2.
So I would just say that with the 9th and the 23rd, those are their actual meetings. So the idea was that we would either tag it onto one of their meetings or tag the session onto one of our meetings. So yes, but duly noted.
That'd be great.
Just to
Thank you.
further complicate things, so the EFPBC is meeting on both September 9th and September 23rd, and we meet at 6 o'clock. And we will have both Mr. Marin and Dr. Hackett with us.
Suddenly the school committee dates are starting to
I
sound
know,
better.
suddenly the
Or-
dates
or-
just
or-
went poof.
Or those
Okay.
alternate Thursday dates.
Oh,
I mean, I'm
right.
not saying they're not marathon meetings, but we're really good about basically starting between 6 and 6:03, and we try to be, it remains to be seen a little bit just how thick that, I think My expectation is the meeting on the 9th will be a faster meeting than the meeting on the 23rd. In fact, I'm very confident of that. We should be done by 7 p.m. on the 9th, but the meeting on the 23rd could easily go a bit longer. But we will
Okay.
be booked, we'll be booked at 6.
Booked at 6. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for the input. Consent agenda. Does anybody have any comment about any of the items that are coming up on the consent agenda?
If not, I'm happy to make a motion to approve as presented.
And I'm happy to second that.
All in favor with a roll call vote? Mr. Hopcroft,
Aye.
Mr. Nixon?
Aye.
Dr. Matthews?
Aye.
The chair votes aye, and the vote is unanimous 4-0.
And just our standard gratitude to Whiffy for the grant.
Thank you for that. I had that on an individual page, but I don't have the page up in front of me, so thank you. Yes, much gratitude. Okay. Sorry, I'm just organizing windows again. How to cut some of these down. Okay. All right, next order of business is report update and action items. And our main action item is with the presentation of the superintendent's summative evaluation. And this, for our members of the public, is an annual process that begins with self-reflection and then implementation of the plan, or self-reflection, setting goals with the school committee and with the leadership team for the school year, and then implementing the plan, doing a mid-year review of the plan, then more self-evaluation, and then it culminates with this summative evaluation. So there is a form from DESE for this. And school committee members have been very good about providing their feedback on the forum and meeting with Dr. Hackett. Dr. Hackett had sent us his own had talked about his own self-evaluation briefly at the July 18th meeting, and then had touched base individually with us. And then since then, committee members, as I'd said, had written their own evaluations and then had spoken with Dr. Hackett. So this is a consolidation of all of those evaluations. And it is a little bit long. I'll just give you a heads up. So, but the form itself talks about the students, the superintendent's progress towards his goals. And with respect to that, there is we evaluate on each of those performance goals, and one of which is the student learning goal, which the school committee had said that Dr. Hackett has made some progress over the year towards that. On the professional practice goal and on the district improvement goals, he has made significant progress on all three of those. Then there are also performance on standards, which we evaluate on. And for instructional, the first standard is instructional leadership. There's management and operations, and family and community engagement, and professional culture. So with instructional leadership, school committee had assessed Dr. Hackett with a proficient in that area. Exemplary in management and operations, and then proficient in both family and community engagement and professional culture. And then for overall performance, school committee had assessed Dr. Hackett with a proficient. And then now I'll go into the comments from the committee, the consolidated comments, and this is where it gets long. So, um, so just to give us some perspective, this is the start of Dr. Hackett's 4th year in Winchester Public Schools. So it's worth a moment just to take a look back at his first 3 years. And if we think back to 2021, it was an unprecedented, difficult time. There was a pandemic, a hybrid year of learning, and the Lynch School renovation project was still in its feasibility phase. So he had to get up to speed with all of these. And school committee had brought Dr. Hackett on board during this time because for the reason that he was just a seasoned leader with decades of experience, and we wanted him to lead us through all of those challenges. And during that time, multiple boards and local and state officials, community members and staff who worked closely with him described him as thoughtful, approachable, personable, humorous, collaborative, genuine, experienced, and supportive. And now those same qualities that he brings to the district are as true and important as ever, as he leads a community of many stakeholders with ever higher expectations. So 2023-24 has been just as demanding of his time and energy and commitment to Winchester. Dr. Hackett sets an example for the district in terms of being reflective, responsive, and responsible for his actions and his decisions. He's worked with the administration, the leadership team, staff, and the school committee to develop a long-term strategic plan. This sets the tone for budget development and the direction for the district, but it also allows us the flexibility to pivot as necessary. So for example, with increasing concerns about Winchester Public Schools' early literacy programming and instruction within the school community, Dr. Hackett ably developed a thoughtful, data-driven process led by a third party to examine respective experiences with the district's literacy program, and that would also include teacher, community, and administrative input. The Lynch rebuilding project was also a central focus this year. This began with a carefully planned and executed move of 450 students from the old building into swing space in the much smaller Parkhurst building. So this entailed planning out modular classrooms, free busing for Lynch students, parking, etc., all of which staff and town worked on well before the move to adjust routines to the specifics of this building. The district was committed to picking up Lynch students no earlier than 7 a.m., but buses then had to turn around to get to all the other schools, all the other students, and get them to their schools. And that was in construction that snarled traffic across multiple areas of town until November of last year. Dr. Hackett and his staff tackled these fearlessly, and they worked tirelessly to address this and communicate with parents and guardians throughout. At the beginning of 2024, the old Lynch building was demolished. Construction kicked off with a community groundbreaking ceremony. It's progressed very quickly, and there was a topping off ceremony that celebrated placing that last piece of steel in June. I think we all continue to watch eagerly as this project proceeds. And as a reminder, it's on schedule and it's within budget for a fall 2025 reopening. In his communication and leadership style, Dr. Hackett shows a very selfless human side. We see he is unafraid to express his vulnerability in public as he reflects, but he's also willing to address difficult issues and encourage others to do the same. He's always said he's a people over paper person. He takes the time to reach out, talk to, and listen carefully to community members individually. He addresses their concerns in an equitable, effective, and efficient manner. He also engages community members' time and energy, as I think you just heard very clearly in his update on the literacy update. From local and state officials to parents, guardians, whether it's planning for the Lynch School, interviewing candidates for the principal or assistant principal or SPED director, or participating in listening sessions, feedback sessions, or surveys on literacy or grading. Community members can feel heard even if they still have even if there are still differences of opinions that remain. Over these 3 years, Dr. Hackett has been gradually laying a more efficient groundwork for the district, improving the user experience and demonstrating the need for data-driven decision-making. As one member wrote, Dr. Hackett empowered his team and made significant strides in modernizing district operations through a data-informed approach, enhancing the district website, student registration, bus tracking, and utilizing various communication platforms to improve the community experience with the school district. I would also like to point out that a new standard response protocol and related training, the first since 2017, took place last year. And then to improve post-pandemic budgeting projections for FY25, school committee and Dr. Hackett had known that this was an issue. Dr. Hackett enlisted UMass Donahue to conduct a long-needed study of enrollment trends to help out with the budgeting for last year. A new 10-year facilities master plan in FY26 will allow the district to make better decisions around its investments in district buildings and to better understand long-term enrollment trends. The rollout of Analytic View will allow educators to analyze student learning using multiple sources of data. And this will enable the educators to track, analyze, and improve student performance and growth. And this will also help us to inform district goals. Finally, he continues to lead the district on a path of greater sustainability with the town's first net zero building in the coming Lynch School and the district's first electric vehicle for food services. Regarding the budget, Dr. Hackett consistently has found alternative sources of funding and has used these sources carefully. Districts across the nation have been having difficulty because of their use of ESSER and ARPA funding, and we've heard about that in the news a lot. Dr. Hackett, though, has carefully spread these funds over the years and used them only for one-time expenses. He makes thoughtful recommendations for program improvements, vets them thoroughly for further cost savings, and offers different cost scenarios, such as on fees and tuition. And he reports back to school committee regularly. School committee members note that Dr. Hackett's command of budget matters, his communication skills, and his wider understanding and long-term vision are true assets to the students and educators of Winchester. Most importantly, he takes responsibility for his choices, and he models this practice for others, both within the administration and among his staff, and in the community. So regarding literacy, Dr. Hackett chose a more measured approach with an outside consultant to assess the drivers of the community experience with elementary literacy. The study revealed information on the current curricular resources, professional development, and educators' experiences with both. A school committee member observed, while the feedback received was difficult, Dr. Hackett supported his team, the teachers, and the committee in being open to challenging conversations. Feedback, even when not positive, and being proactive in addressing these concerns will hopefully lead to increased trust, transparency, and student and staff growth in the district. Having this information in a clear and unbiased way will certainly lead to more articulated and focused improvement, such as a more consistent program of study and clear guidance on curriculum materials and best practices across the district. Another wrote, his thoughtful and patient approach to understanding problems or concerns is similarly applied when developing potential solutions or alternatives, and he actively seeks input and constructive criticism in the process. With the data now available, Dr. Hackett and his team can work collaboratively with educators, as we heard about again earlier today, and also work collaboratively with the facilitator to develop the district's vision for literacy and plan in a trusted space and from a shared understanding. They can also focus intensely on reframing of the district's approach to curricular to curricular resources and best instructional practice. Dr. Hackett uses this data to make planned, thoughtful decisions in the best interest of the district students. School committee members encourage Dr. Hackett to continue to reimagine the leadership structure that has been overburdened with too much work spread across too few people and chronic underfunding. We welcome his suggestions for additional administrative roles or FTEs and funding that may help the leadership team to be more supported, informed, and agile moving forward. So in conclusion, Dr. Hackett writes in his self-evaluation, addressing and improving the identified cultural issues starts with me, but true transformation will require all of us to commit to coming together. As we talked about in this brief look at his first 3 years, the school committee very much respects his experience and his judgment. We encourage him to continue to follow these instincts, and we look forward to this transformation and the direction he takes the district. So with that, I would open it up to comments from the committee. If you'd like to raise your digital hand or jump in.
Or can we hear from Dr. Hackett?
We could.
Maybe if I get my mute button on. Well, first of all, I appreciate the support. I appreciate the feedback. I've had individual conversations with you, many of you, and not just about this evaluation, which is what I also appreciate is that we're in regular contact individually about issues and things, and that is super important to me because there's been nothing worse than getting to the end of a school year and finding out that people had some recommendations or feedback or input on things that they didn't share with you until it was evaluation time. And so I just do appreciate the working relationship. I think that as we look around, there are plenty of places where that is not true in terms of superintendent, school committee, and school committee and community, and leadership, and school committee as well. So it is regardless of the work that we need to do, and we all really, I think, have a common understanding of what that is, which is key. I do believe that the fact is that this is a high performing school district. No small amount in part due to the fact that it's a high performing and highly collaborative committee that is providing guidance and around policy matters and budget and other items for the district and for the students. This is always probably I think I hate this meeting more than any other meeting. It's just always very uncomfortable, regardless of the feedback. But I also always hope it's uncomfortable because while the evaluation is on me, it's not reflective of me. It's reflective of the work that not only that you all do and participate in, but certainly the people that I work with here, from Jen to Lori to Andrew to Aaron Allen, who keeps me going, keeps me up to date on what's going on in my inbox, and obviously organizing your work, to the district leaders, from our directors to our content coordinators, and also clearly our building administrators, from our principals and assistant principals, who really, they are the ones that make the biggest impact from a leadership perspective, in my view, on the lives of our kids, because they are in direct contact with and working directly with our teachers and staff, as well as with our students. So I am proud to be the superintendent of schools in Winchester. I understand, and I think fully accept the work that the challenges that are not only behind us, but those that still remain and that are in front of us. And I'm committed to working together with you. And I know that I have a central office team and a team of administrators who are committed to that work as well. As I someone said to me a long time ago, you just want to leave wherever you were a little better than you found it. And, I'm not that I'm prepared to leave, but I certainly know that we have a big agenda ahead of us, and not the least of which is kind of regaining the confidence and trust of the school community. And I remain optimistically confident that we're going to be able to do that, and I think we have a plan for that. And I know we have people who are committed to doing that. So thank you for your continued support, your honesty, and your time to work with me and others to really keep this place as one of the best school systems in the state.
Thank you so much. Any comments from the committee? Mr. Nixon, I see you are unmuted, so.
Oh, well, just because I wanted to hear from Frank after our kind of summative review. So no, I just want to say, the remarks that you just made, they reflect a lot of work, not just on Frank's part and of the leadership team, a lot of work on your part as well. So this is one of the thankless tasks of every school committee chair. You collect the sort of individual summative evaluations, you look for common threads, you have multiple conversations with the superintendent. So what, your task is to kind of weave together an evaluation that is representative of the full committee. And why, and again, due to open meeting law, we're not sort of aware of I'm not aware of what other committee members said, but I feel like, my remarks and my sentiment were sort of well represented in your remarks. And so I thank you for that. I know this is not your first rodeo doing this, so it's a lot of work. So thank you. And I again want to thank Dr. Hackett, whose door is open and the phone lines are open for important and sometimes difficult conversations. I think Dr. Hackett's well aware of those areas where we need to see some continued improvement. And I'm appreciative that he's here because I think he's the right guy. He has the right skill set and the right frame of mind, and the right sort of approach to engagement with us and with the community to continue to make some progress on things. So feel like there's a lot of common understanding with the superintendent of schools on some things that are very front of mind to our community and the school committee right now. So I'm really glad that he's here, and looking forward to continued progress over the next year.
I guess I would just weigh in that this process, there's parts of it that are very awkward, the way that the state has set up the form and things, but overall the process is a really good opportunity to provide a window into the conversations and the back and forth that we have with Dr. Hackett throughout the year. And I've seen not just in the summary that your chair has put together, which thank you for that. I know it's not a small undertaking. But I've seen just in his actions throughout the time that he's been here, certainly the conversations I've had with him reflected in the work that he has done, and I'm sure that reflects those individual conversations of all the other members as well. And so I would concur with Mr. Nixon that I do think he's the right person for the challenges we have. He brings tremendous experience, and and there's work to be done, and he acknowledges that. And I think continuous improvement, and not that he's leaving anytime soon, but taking us forward every year is a really good thing. And I appreciate all of the work he has done and will continue to do with the leadership team, and all of our amazing teachers and other staff members within the district. So thank you very much.
Do any other members wish to make a comment? Dr. Matthews, you popped up.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that the connection will stay stable while I talk, but I just wanted to say thank you. I'm obviously the newest member of the committee, and a lot of the issues that have been surfaced over the past couple of months were a big part of the campaign, I guess, during which the environment in which I came onto the school committee. So I just wanted to say very quickly that I'm completely new to this, and I obviously did not have the benefit of a full 12 months working with Dr. Hackett as superintendent and as a school committee member. But I have been consistently impressed with his willingness to take risks, in particular, risks that I think a lot of, I've been in the field of education for a while now, and I think a lot of school leaders are not willing to take the risks that Dr. Hackett has taken. I think it's much easier in many ways to leave things in a status quo and try to just sort of navigate forward in that way. And so I wanted to commend him specifically for the willingness to be open to a process that didn't have a natural preordained conclusion around the elementary literacy work that the district has done. And I will also commend him for, in the midst of a summer, which has been, like any other summer in public education, folks are away and, different people, stakeholders are not necessarily easily reachable to come up with some first steps along the sort of ongoing process of improvement. So I think I wanted to echo what the two other folks have said so far in comment in response to Ms. Bolognese's sort of summary evaluation, that it does take confidence, right? And I think having someone in the role of superintendent who's been doing this, I think, Karen, you put it, for decades, right? Who's been in a position of leadership is beneficial to us at this time because things are challenging. And so I look forward to working with Dr. Hackett and his team to move the district forward in the coming year. And I look forward to participating, I guess, more fully in the evaluation process next year when I feel like I'm not drowning in DESE benchmarks and standards that I'm completely new to. So thank you. But, particularly around curriculum and instruction, I know that, in my conversations with Dr. Hackett, he knows there's work to do and a better place and a better outcome that we can all get to. And I look forward to digging in, rolling up our sleeves and doing that work together.
Thank you so much to everybody for your comments. Ms. Bergstrom has joined us. She is still under the weather, so she just wanted to reserve some of her comments for the next meeting, but she wanted to join us for the vote. So thank you, Ms. Bergstrom, and thank you all for your thoughtful comments and feedback.
Thank you, everybody.
And I would just, I guess, a lot of that report was me too. So I think, but I would just say, as an overall summary, just thank you so much, Dr. Hackett. With respect to what Dr. Matthews was just saying about being a risk taker and having the confidence to take on those risks, I feel as if looking back on the last 3 years, when we hired you, when that school committee hired you, I think that those were qualities that really shone through. And they really worked to you, and you have really worked to the benefit of this community so much and so deeply over the last 3 years. And I personally am truly grateful for all of that work and your dedication. So I'll just keep it short since there was a lot to write and read.
Can I just add, Madam Chair, when you did talk about we hiring Dr. Hackett, for the record, Dr. Vernalia was also a part of that decision, and he is actually with us right now in public comment. And I don't know if that's ceremonial for this very purpose or what, but I just wanted to say for the record, Dr. Vernalia was a huge part of that search and evaluation process as well. So appreciate him being part of that decision.
Yes, the school committee members of that time. So with that, I believe we must take a vote just to accept the evaluation. So I would welcome such a motion.
Happy to make a motion to accept Dr. Hackett's summative evaluation as presented by the chair.
Second.
All in favor? Ms. Bergstrom.
Aye.
Thank you. Dr. Matthews.
Aye.
Mr. Hopcroft,
Aye.
and Mr. Nixon.
Aye.
The chair votes aye, and the vote is unanimous for Dr. Hackett's summative evaluation. And thank you so much. Let me just see. Next item of business. Oh, there's a big dialogue box blocking it, but I believe it is the reorganization plan.
Central office reorganization.
I'm pulling up my backup. The superintendent's central office reorganization plan draft.
Okay, thank you, everybody, and I appreciate the process as well. And one of the things that as I was going through doing my self-evaluation, I was trying to bifurcate the year, and I had to really reach back, honestly, to remember some of the things that happened in the fall. And as we were going forward and thinking, as I was going forward and thinking about the evaluation, and as I said earlier, I think I was anxious to get through that, as I always am. But I'm more anxious to get through it because of what lies ahead of us and the work that we need to do. And I wanted to present to you along the line or theme of the fact that we do have some real limitations with capacity within our leadership structure. Too few people having to handle too many responsibilities, and sometimes that can result in not being able to get to everything in the way that we would all want to. And I will speak for myself when I say that. Every day I go home and think about all the things I didn't get done. And every year I end the year thinking about, how I had some other intentions along the way, and would like to have gotten to some things. And it oftentimes, it's just, it's a lot anywhere. And thankfully I have the team that I have to be able to do the work that we do. But as part of that conversation, as part of thinking about moving forward and looking at what we have in front of us, which is many things, we really wanted to sit down and think about our current central office structure, where the responsibilities are, and match that with what we know the work to be, where we know the focus has to be, around many things, from contract negotiations with 5 bargaining units to that are coming up, to the work that we know exists coming out of the literacy assessment, in and around everything from actual literacy to relationships with teachers and staff and administrators, which is deep, meaningful work and critical work. And we need to position ourselves as best we can to really be able to dedicate the time to those things, because all of it, and especially around our relationships and culture and trust and with our faculty and with our community, is time. It is absolutely time spent, and making sure that people know you and that you know people, and that you're able to spend the time really tapping in and understanding what the needs are, and finding the time to actively listen, and do something with that information, and to listen on a broad scale, so that it's we all run the risk at times of only really kind of interfacing with the people that we interface with, because there's work to be done, and there are people that are responsible for certain things that that's who are the people who are doing it. And to broaden that out is important, and we are absolutely future focused on doing that as a leadership team. So knowing that we don't have any more money, and we are in a budget cycle, we're already in a budget that has been approved and adopted. There's only the ability to evaluate current positions and responsibilities that are in those positions, and then look at what we think the work is ahead of us and where the priorities are, and then try to figure out ways to align that with the positions that we have and the people that are in those positions. And there are times when the demands are and the expectations and the goals and the are a mismatch with the structure of the positions themselves, not with the people, but the positions. And whenever you make any kind of change, there's always unintended consequences of things that may not get done to the level that you would have expected or used to get them done to. But I think as an organization and a leadership structure in any organization, if we're not able to be responsive to what's in front of us, if we just stay status quo and don't make some decisions and hard choices and be thoughtful decisions around how we approach the work and how we distribute our resources, which the biggest one is time for us, then I think we do a complete disservice to our mission, which is to make learning our priority and students at the heart of that, along with our teachers and staff. So this is an effort to do that. It is it is somewhat of a work in progress, although we have spent a good part of the summer in discussions around this with the people that are most affected by it and those who are committed to it. And this is what we have for you this afternoon. This afternoon, yeah, it was this morning. It's this afternoon now. So some just kind of keynotes in that box at the bottom. You know, one of the things that we know is that the elementary literacy program and curriculum instructional approaches is key and center to the work that we have in front of us for next year. There really isn't much more important at the elementary literacy level than our literacy. And we know where we are. We talked earlier about the collaborative and the partnership with the collaborative, but the reality is that the collaborative is going to be here to help facilitate. They're not going to be on site every single day, in and out of classrooms every single day, working with our teachers, working with our principals and administrators every single day. So one of our main priorities was to really think about, okay, we don't have more people, but can we distribute responsibilities in such a way is that, and I'm going to use this term very loosely, that we can buy time for those positions that really need more time and need to be more have a more narrow focus than they currently have. The best and biggest example of that for us in just really thinking through what's ahead is the elementary level, and currently Lori Kirby's position of assistant superintendent for personnel and elementary education. The talent and skills and experience that Lori brings to both of those titles, and of course there's a lot of overlap. We are a people business. It's 90% of what we do and 80% of what we spend our money on, if not higher. Has been just instrumental in really helping this school system get through the last several years since she's been in the role. And as you know, we added the elementary education component to the position last year at the beginning of the year, understanding and recognizing that there was a need to have a dedicated leadership, central office leadership position that was focused on elementary. Just the fact that we have 5 elementary schools and just trying to make sure that we are generally headed west at every one of those schools in the same direction, that there's coordination among the schools with principals, that the principals have direct support, we felt very important. And I think it has already paid off to the point that I think it's paid off to the point that to the level that we need to really make that the primary and almost singular focus of Lori's position for next year. So, and looking at the column on the left-hand side of this, we are looking at the very bottom as part of the core of this to be that we remove the personnel responsibilities from Lori's position and identify and retitle her position as Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Education. You're going to see on the next slide that there's an additional responsibility, which is equally as important, that Lori will be picking up. One that she had prior to last year too. Actually, it was just last year that I actually had it, and that is the Director of Nursing. So Lori's role next year will really focus on elementary education. This year, there's not much of a change in terms of the responsibilities that she had from this year. With that focus, she is a co-evaluator and co-supervisor of the elementary principals with me. But one of the bigger changes with that is that we're shifting the elementary content coordinators from Dr. Ellen Emma's position over to Lori's position for direct supervision of our content coordinators. And obviously, there are 3 of us here in the central office. We're all in one building. We work every single day together. And a key component of that for me is making sure that we all, and I believe we do, understand what each other is doing, what the priorities are. And as we move forward into next year, working with our district leadership teams and our building-based leadership teams to really set our goals and agenda and really be able to figure out how we best support those things. So that is a fairly significant change in the central office structure. In addition to that, as I said just a few minutes ago, Lori has been and has worked with the Director of Nursing and the nursing department for several years now. She was at one point, I believe she was the Director of Nursing. I'm not quite sure, but when we were going through COVID and when I first got here my first year and we couldn't find enough nurses and we were doing vaccinations and everything else that we were doing, I think Lori I know that she spent a significant amount of time working with our nurses and the nursing director. And then we went for a little bit of time where we did not have a director. And thankfully, we now have Lynn Vizella, who is just tremendous. Jen Markham did a fantastic job. And prior to that, under really tough conditions. But there was a gap in the leadership turnover change, and Lori picked that role up, and she did a phenomenal job with it. So this is a very natural fit for her to be able to do that. But so again, there is a real concentrated focus here for this position in recognition of the fact that we have literacy work ahead of us. And there are the other content areas, is we are also reminded that need support, that need work, and she'll be providing the central office and district leadership for those efforts. She will also be on the literacy curriculum team, or yeah, I don't think I call it curriculum team, but the literacy team that'll be working with the collaborative. She'll be really the central office liaison to that and provide leadership along with two of our elementary principals, and bring that information, coordinating that with Dr. Ellen Emma, myself, and keeping us in the loop on that process. So if we can go back to the first slide. With that, obviously, personnel responsibilities and human resources responsibilities will no longer be all within her job responsibility. And we recognized that there is an awful lot of time spent on that. And that was a key move for us to find the time and loosen up some time for her to shift to really real focus on elementary education in total. So with that, we're gonna move our HR responsibilities to our business office. As part of that, we will be reorganizing some of our positions in the business office, starting with the one on the top, going from on the left, in the left-hand column. We currently have an accounting manager position that is Michelle Kingdon. Michelle, we were super fortunate to get Michelle when we did. She has been with us for a bit and is just a tremendous asset to the district, to the school system, to the town, really. She has a background in finance, both from the town side. She's worked in town offices and on the school side. So when she came to us, we were thrilled to have her. And candidly, you know, I think that the accounting manager title has always been a misnomer, especially, I mean, that's what we were looking for. But when we hired Michelle, we got so much more than that. And Michelle has had experience with the health and benefits side with human resources. She's had experience with payroll. She knows how it works on the town side. So we are restructuring her position from accounting manager to finance, which is a better representation because she's not just dealing with accounting. She is in charge and responsible for the business office under the direction of Mr. Marin, and also HR manager, with the idea that, and more details to come, I'm going to stay as on this level as I can, with the idea that all HR issues will go to her first, particularly issues around leave, FMLA, sick bank requests, around contract, some contract interpretations, around really the nuts and bolts of human resources. Human resources is kind of wrapped in personnel. When I think of personnel and that title that Lori held, personnel to me also included the other side of that. It's not just contractual obligations and how managing staff and negotiating contracts and dealing with potential contract disputes and even grievances at times, or even investigations or those kinds of things. It's also professional development. So human development, and that responsibility is not going to Michelle. That will stay with Lori. It will stay with Jen. It will stay with me. So because that's a huge part of what we do, and we need experienced educators doing that. But I really believe that lifting the more, I think, more traditional HR responsibilities off of her plate is critical in a lot of ways, and I think it will provide the support that we need in our little central office structure to be able to focus on other things. Candidly, I when with Lori in the role, I mean, at some point, if it's a significant personnel issue, I'm involved. I get brought into it, brainstorm, work through solutions, work directly with the union myself as well. I'll continue in that capacity. As we know, we have contract negotiations coming up. There are 5 separate units. Lori has always been an integral part of that process. She will no longer be there, but I will be there as I was before, and will continue to. And then we will look to Michelle and one other person, as well as Andrew, and then others potentially to kind of broaden out the team that's at the table with the union, to go through that process. So next down, we have an administrative assistant for registration. That position was solely a one full-time position for registration of students. We've made a tremendous amount of progress over the last 3 years, thanks really to the work that Andrew's done around this, as well as a couple of our key people under him, and under also Jen with a data specialist and student information specialist. And we've made a lot of headway in really moving much of that process online, so that, and you're aware of this obviously, and we're seeing really good high use of online registration. We're still ironing out some of the logistics of that, and but our usage of that process and that technology is up. I think we really have a much better process in place now. The person who was in the administrative assistant role as the registrar is Sophie, and she's been fantastic. And as she was going through it last year, really started to go to Andrew and just say, are there other things that I could be doing? Because the process was smooth and running well. So she found herself with time on her hands. And then in and around March or so, We did have a vacancy with the administrative assistant to finance director. That person left the position, went somewhere else. And at that time, we opened the position, and Sophie did apply, and she was appointed to that role. But she didn't give up the registration responsibilities. So she has rolled in registration into the responsibilities that are held in supporting the director of finance and operations as an administrative assistant. We lived with that for several months. By all accounts, it has gone very well. I think people feel very comfortable with the registration process. We think it is time for us to move that responsibility into a position into the admin assistant to the director of finance role. And then with that, we have a position that we did not fill last year with a registration role. And we kept it within the budget going into this year because we weren't entirely sure what it was going to look like and whether or not we needed that FTE in a different capacity, which you'll see as part of this plan as we move forward. So we're actually using that role in that FTE to create a position called accounting and HR specialist. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. We currently have a position of payroll specialist. Nancy's been here with us for quite some time. She does a tremendous job. She almost single-handedly does the role. Pretty much, I probably say almost. I think she does single-handedly do the role. And we've always been really interested in the last 3 years or so of trying to figure out how we, one, can provide backup and redundancy so that we can support that position if anything were to happen. And now we're at a point where we really want to support it more formally. So we have another position here that's going to actually be involved in payroll processing at a level that has not been the case up to this point. So, but we also are thinking about our structure and titles, and Nancy she's not just a payroll specialist, she is a payroll coordinator. So we're kind of trying to standardize on some of these titles, like manager, like coordinator, and like specialist, and recognizing the existing roles for what they are, and making adjustments to those titles while we're doing all the rest of this. So that is a title change to go from payroll specialist to payroll coordinator. The accounting specialist position, which was supporting the business office as well, essentially is also more than a specialist. We're going to move that to accounting coordinator. And then we are changing from HR specialist to HR coordinator for the same reasons. So those are more title changes than anything else. We also, let me just make sure I've hit all the top points here. Also, just to say that all of this, we will be evaluating these changes over the course of the year, and as we go through FY25, and this will further this conversation about our staffing needs and where our supports are as we go into the FY26 budget process. But we think that this redistribution of responsibilities is our best step forward in going into the 24-25 school year. So if we could go, Andrew, just to the next, please. Thank you. So you can see all those things reflected on this slide. We've just talked about the finance and HR manager. We talked about the positions that support the business office there and the title changes. So those boxes that are in blue are title changes. So you'll see those two, as well as the assistant superintendent for elementary education, with the removal of the personnel component. One of the things that and I've already talked about with Lori's position is having the director of nursing and nursing services fall under her role. So just to emphasize that, this is still in draft form, although it is the structure that we believe we need to move forward on, and we believe we need to move forward on it quickly, given that we are now at August 8th, particularly around the HR components, but also around some of the other components of it as well. But we'll be coming back to you. This is not final. There's some other positions on here that we may revisit job titles but we just want to stay focused right now on these particular changes. Also, just to say that the yellow box is a change in who that position reports to. So you can see, once again, elementary content coordinators moving from the assistant superintendent to the assistant superintendent for elementary education. A director of nursing was actually under my supervision last year, so that's also going to be moved there. And then to talk a little bit further about one additional change, this fairly significant change, is that with the literacy work that we have in front of us and bringing in the collaborative and as well as expanding the involvement of our teachers and our elementary educators in discussions and work around literacy. That work is going to be taking place, as I shared earlier, starting now through the fall, through next year. We feel that at this point, we are best served to assist to not have a district-wide literacy coordinator role, because we're trying to spread out and distribute the leadership of our literacy to people and our literacy work across more people. And for next year, that means is that while the literacy coordinator position was the responsible for the literacy specialists and coaches, or the reading specialists and coaches, depending on who you talk to in terms of the title of people who have been here, but our existing staff who work with our students in literacy, they are building-based employees, and next year they will be direct reports to their respective elementary principals. So removing that central office coordination, knowing that we are going into a process that will help us work through our literacy curriculum and programming, that in the end would, I presumably, come up with some recommendations around literacy leadership that then we would be bringing forward and discussing. So with that, without filling or using that position, we have an FTE available. And one of the things that you heard in my self-evaluation and heard presented as part of my evaluation, we've done a tremendous amount of work that has been behind the scenes with developing a data warehouse called Analytic View. Analytic View really allows us to bring in multiple assessments, data points for students, for teachers, and allows us to use multiple measures to really evaluate both student performance and achievement, as well as kind of system performance and achievement. We've been working for the last year or so, meeting with Analytic View and the consultants with every other week or so. And part of that team has been myself, Andrew, Stephanie Blass, who's kind of a special projects person for us this year, who's been really helping to get data, as well as Katie Malone, who has been providing them with data around literacy that we have. We've also given them MCAS data, and we've provided them we have also provided additional local measures that they have now in the system. So our goal and our plan is to begin to roll Analytic View out to our district leadership, to our building-based leadership this coming school year. It allows us to look at data in multiple ways. In real time, for example, with attendance, principals will have a dashboard of their school. They'll be able to look at student attendance in the minute. It talks directly to Aspen and uploads that data automatically. And attendance is going to be one of our goals next year, and focus on student attendance next year, because we're just seeing some things in the data that we believe that is a key priority and goal for us across the system. With that, we also have brought on some additional other technology systems that are related to student supports. And we're also looking to bring on a system called Thought Exchange, which is a really very powerful platform that allows us to create surveys, that allows us to actually have exchanges with constituents, from teachers to whomever it is. I'll be showing you more of that later, not today, but at another time as we roll that out. And that is in recognition of the changing conditions that I think we're in. And we talked about a little earlier about rethinking leadership. And and how do we lead school systems in what is a very different time post-pandemic, and the expectation for and the need for community input and involvement, and how do we do that in a way that is manageable, effective, and efficient. So we're excited about that platform. All that to say that as we were thinking through our needs for next year, along with the other needs with HR, the need for someone to take the lead on that work is critical. We will not be able to move forward in a way that we need to on that work without someone who is paying full-time attention to that. And that has led us to look to change, essentially a title change of you can see it on the right-hand side under the assistant superintendent box of data analysis coordinator pre-K through 12. So to emphasize that is data pre-K through 12. It's not just elementary. It's not just literacy. It's all content areas. And even larger than that, when we think about the YRBS data that you were presented not too long ago, and some of the things that jumped out at us there, as well as MCIEA data that we can really start to weave into this overall more multiple measure look at how we're doing and how our students are doing in school. So that really is the core changes that are represented here. We believe that this is the right path and the right next step for us, and we're eager to get going on it. So just would ask whether Andrew, Jen, or Lori, whether I missed anything. Is there anything that you'd like to point out? If anyone has any questions.
If Andrew, Jen, and Lori don't have any comments, I'll just, and I'm recognizing that we're 40 minutes or so over time here already, so I'll be brief. But my observations, coming out of the pandemic and coming out of your first few years here, I think we've seen some strains on the system. We've talked about how thin the central office staff is. So I appreciate this seems like a very sensible reorganization internally of moving people around to optimize what you can with the resources you have. I do think there's a bigger conversation that hopefully we'll have during the upcoming budget season about thinking about where the strains have been and may need additional capacity that we can talk about in budgeting. So I'm supportive of this that you're putting forward today, and looking forward to a conversation about what other areas would a little bit of investment personnel here or there have a much larger reward or savings on on just the operations of the district. But I'm supportive here. Thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions from the committee? If not, I have one. Dr. Hackett, thank you so much for this very thoughtful organizational chart and all the work that you and your staff have been putting into it. And I know that there have been many long conversations about that. And I think you had it on one of the slides, but just to make sure, could you just comment briefly if there was any cost impact?
I hope I said it. I should have led with it. Recognizing we don't have any funds and we're in a budget already, there is no cost impact with this leadership change in structure.
That's great. Thank you. And
just also partly just want to also add, part of the reason why that's true is because of the registrar position that we did not fill, that we have repurposed as part of this plan.
And as Mr. Hopcroft was saying, and as I think also came across in our evaluation, we do welcome that input from you on, we recognize that the leadership or that the staffing in central office is very lean, and that people are wearing many different hats. And And I do hope, and I believe and school committee members have also expressed that if there are ways that you can bring forward needs for other FTEs or and staffing, that you will bring that to us. And I know you'll think about it. I don't want to say creatively, but I just said it. And thoughtfully and deeply. So if you have a need of that, then I hope that comes forward in the budget season.
We will evaluate and continue to evaluate. We've already begun some of that work. Even just kind of starting with like school systems to see what those structures look like. I've been in other places, so I know what I've had prior to coming here, and therefore can confirm that that we are lean. So we absolutely will be one of the things that we'll be focused on for the FY26 budget development cycle.
Thank you. Dr. Matthews.
Hi, sorry, more breaking up, so I'm trying to stay off camera. No, but I just
No
wanted
worries.
to underscore that and say
It is
that's, I
freezing
think,
a
one of
little
the
bit.
biggest things that and Dr.
A little bit.
Oh, sorry. So I will say I'm excited to take that on. Whoop.
I think we're
Might want
losing
to
Tim.
turn your vid. Yeah, I'm gonna start. Yeah.
Are you?
Let's see if that
sorry,
helps.
Can you hear me now
There
with
you
the video
go.
off?
Yes.
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 Okay,
Better.
perfect.
Thanks.
So I just wanted to say that's something I look forward to taking on with Dr. Hackett and the committee this year. Thank you for raising that, Madam Chair. I think that's probably one of the most important things. I started to dig in just on my own to DESE has a number of districts that they compare us to. There are also some other districts that I think are in similar positions to Winchester in terms of their, sort of disproportionately heavily weighted towards residential tax base towns, which I don't know that DESE necessarily looks at. But I've looked at just myself and made up some org charts by hand and paper of other districts, and just sort of looking at how different those districts are in terms of the staff that they have to sort of oversee certain things, both at the district level as well as at the building level. So I look forward to continuing to have that conversation, because I think that's a real opportunity area for us moving forward, obviously mindful of our situation. But there are lots of things that I think we might be able to support the students in our district by considering over the next year and feeding that into our next budget cycle. So thank you for raising that, both Madam Chair as well as Dr. Hackett. And Mr. Hopcroft too. I think you said it in different ways.
We're all behind you. Let me see. Okay, so with no further comments, Dr. Hackett, were you needing, was this purely informational only? Were you needing some sort of action on this?
Good question.
Yeah.
It would be helpful to have a vote acknowledging and supporting the structure change. As I said, I think the time frame is tight for us. We've got some work to do getting transitioned into this model, and we have a school year that's fast approaching, particularly with issues around just human resources, and make sure we're up and running, professional development, and you saw the timeline for our literacy work, which is laid out fairly quickly. It's happening fairly quickly as well. So if the committee is supportive, then we would like to move forward with these changes. Whether you want to do it as a vote of approval or a vote of support, I don't think there's anything necessarily in particular that needs your direct authorization, but whatever you think is appropriate.
I'm happy to make a motion and have with either support or approval, but I'll say support of superintendent's central office reorganization plan.
Can I just, before a second on that, we discussed this, we've discussed this previously, and are we approving it as presented, or we're approving it, with some input and feedback from the school committee for the superintendent to continue to sort of think through? I mean, are we approving this as the final, or we're approving this as a draft?
So my hope would be, it's a good question, because we're going to get off this meeting and we're going to start making some moves, including training for certain people in certain areas that are going to need some training, and some shifts around transitions, that you could approve it from the perspective of it being the structure, understanding that some of the job titles, the overall organizational chart, there may be some tweaks and some shifts in that, but that the responsibilities in the positions that have been outlined are final.
So can I just jump in? So Dr. Hackett, I think I just want to ask you to comment on three things. So one of them is, and part of this is picking up from our conversation, but I just wanted to have you comment first or reiterate the time frame or timeline for this, right? Because I know that this is not, a expected future state for the rest of your tenure in Winchester. It's something that we're working forward, as changes get made. Oh, I'm going to stop my video again because I think I froze. But changes are being made for a certain period of time. And I think the second thing I wanted to raise was, does this, in your opinion, does this lock us into this structure permanently? And I think the third question I wanted to raise is, do you see, just to sort of tie something up with that budget conversation we had, do you see an imperative for the committee to sort of revisit this? I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel like there's a time bound around all of this, and there's a future state that we maybe want to get to that isn't necessarily this, that we might reconsider at a later date, but just sort of like make it clear in order for a motion what you're envisioning for the sort of duration of this particular structure.
I appreciate the question. So I live in a world of expecting that we're never going to get more resources than we have, and that we're always trying to find the most efficient ways to run the organization. So if there were to be no other resources coming our way, we're committed to continue to evaluate both this structure through the course of the year. I've been here 3 years now. We've made several changes in our leadership structure over the 3 years, so nothing is forever. But people do need to know what their responsibilities are, what the scope of those are, and then there's an investment in their professional development and training around those responsibilities. Schools like to know, and they like clear structures. They like things to say stable, and some of these roles I think are easier to say, yes, this is a good structure, and this is how we're going to continue to move forward, at least in terms of responsibilities. So I don't see us, for example, moving away from the HR responsibilities being placed in the business office. I think Michelle King is going to do a fantastic job with it, but we may go through this year and we may find that it's too much for the structure that we have, and we need to rethink some things with respect to adding another position. So to your question, we're going to continue to evaluate our overall administrative leadership structures as we do with all of our resources. We are looking at other school districts we have things in common with, as I know that you have already done that, and I've talked about that some, and we're going to evaluate. So nothing is forever, and if we're able to gain support for a plan that lays out some additional supports, we may think differently about these responsibilities in terms of how they get done and who does them, or how we support that work. I don't know if that answers your question completely. I'm not trying to be vague about it, but also just recognizing that we have people behind these titles that they need to know what they're going to be doing, and we need to make sure that they have the supports they need and plan the transition appropriately.
Well,
I'm sorry, I don't know if that
great.
answers your question.
You might be
It
frozen.
does, and I just wanted to sort of give
Okay.
voice to the fact that early August, right, the school year starts.
Yes.
Did you hear any of that?
Yes,
Okay, no, so report was received end of June. We're now in early August. School year starts in less than a month. And so, obviously, I assume there will be a process of continuous improvement moving forward. But that, this is what we expect reasonably for the coming school year.
It's a true statement.
And I would just add, I think it's actually it's a good process to go through making the changes that and optimizing the team and the structure before we have a conversation about where we need additional capacity added in, because it's very easy to add capacity in and not optimizations within a structure beforehand, just because you have extra resources. So I like the fact that it's sort of a two-stage thing, that we try to make the changes that Track is recommending here now, recognizing that there are we may be out of alignment with a lot of other districts, and that some of the strains that we've seen with putting too much work on too few people still need to be addressed, and that it could follow in short order thereafter.
I think this is yet another example of just Dr. Hackett's being very methodical along with his staff, asking and modeling for everybody to be methodical, collaborative, data oriented, and if I didn't say it already, thoughtful about this process and trying it out and then seeing where our needs are.
I'll second Mr. Hopcroft's motion for the purpose of a vote.
All in favor, Mr. Hopcroft? Dr. Matthews?
Aye.
Mr. Nixon?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and the vote is unanimous.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate the support, and we're ready to start rolling. Thanks.
Love that. Okay, moving on to anticipated future agenda items. We will continue to have the elementary literacy update, subcommittee updates, a fees discussion for future years, EFPBC and Lynch Elementary Replacement Project update, capital planning committee update, and a school committee goals workshop. We also have the joint meeting with the select board. So are there other anticipated future agenda items? And I would like to come back to that goals workshop. Okay, so with respect to the goals workshop, I know Dr. Hackett, I think when we were looking at the schedule, we were looking at September 12th and September 19th.
Let me just bring up my calendar's view here. So we have, you as a committee have blocked out the 12th, the 19th, and the 26th, understanding that all three or some portion of those would be used. I think from a timing perspective and given everything we just talked about in trying to settle in and figure out, we also have a leadership workshop that will be happening at the end of this month, and getting the school year open. I think the 19th would be a good time for a goals workshop. The 22nd would be fine too, I think, but the 12th I think would be too early.
When you say the 22nd, do you mean the 26th, or are you talking about another date? The 22nd.
I meant the 26th. Thank you.
So goals workshop
Of September.
of
Let's
September.
be clear. Right.
Yes. So best date then that you were proposing would be September 19th for goals workshop for school committee, with September 26th as a backup date.
Yes, and I think just kind of waiting to see how the select board joint session scheduling goes, and just kind of where some other things go. We do, as you know, meet again on August 22nd. So I think at that point we might have more information about what makes sense for the scheduling of those dates.
And I'll speak with Ms. Pryor from the select board about our school committee dates. and put it out there that maybe select board could join us.
And by the way, it may work that it's a different day of the week that
It
not
could
either
very
of the
well.
meetings on that. For the goals workshop, what time are we holding?
We've held 6 o'clock for all 3 of those dates.
Great, that's all I need.
Ideally, a goals workshop would be nice to start a little earlier than that, but I understand everyone's schedules too, so.
Okay.
I would just also point out that the 19th is also the high school open house night, so.
Okay.
I will be there for that.
The high school
And
open
speak-
house?
Yep.
The workshop.
The open house. Also just noticing that, sorry, it's also the Lynch open house night, and then the 26th is McCall's open house night. So best laid plans, perhaps we might have to rethink
No,
some of this.
all of
We're
those.
just, I mean, already,
What?
like, felt pretty good a couple minutes ago, so, why don't we wait till the
Okay.
22nd and just see where we are?
Okay. All right,
Maybe Aaron could help us some scheduling.
yes. Oh my goodness.
What are you trying to say, Mr. Hopcroft?
It takes a
Just
village.
that-
It just
I
I
takes a
got my
village.
evaluation. I got my evaluation's been voted on already.
As a
Yes.
former chair, I know how difficult it is to herd cats, and Aaron is pretty good at tracking us down.
I don't get heartburn and I think I just got a little. So. Future meeting dates, our next definite meeting date. I believe we had held some dates later in August and we believe we will need August 22nd.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that is a virtual meeting, Dr. Hackett? And are we
can
looking at
do
10 a.m.?
Either, we can do either, I think, but virtual is probably a safer bet. I'm looking at the, my calendar, which also includes, school committee members' calendars for the summer. We have a quorum, as long as anyone doesn't go coming up with last minute plans like some of you have done. 22nd, we've got 4:30 held right now, so I would
4:30.
say we probably should plan on virtual, because we do have one member who may be able to join virtually, who's not in town.
Okay, I will hold 4:30. And with that, I would just accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor, Dr. Matthews,
Hi.
Mr. Hopcroft,
aye.
Mr. Nixon.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and the vote is unanimous. Thank you, everybody, for your participation today. Really appreciate
you,
it in
everybody.
these summer schedules.
Thank you.
Take
See you
care.
soon. Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, WinCam.